Well, it's kind of a weird week. We took 2 days off, which we seldom do, but I don't think there's any question our players are a little bit worn out, especially Zell and Trav, and I think it really helped them. At the other side of it, I think we need some other guys to step up. I guess what I found out in the last 2 days, we've really mixed and matched some people, and I can see why we struggled at times during the year, because when we have certain combinations in together, sometimes it's a struggle. And I think that's the thing I was talking about all year. Do I have a rotation? And, so that's going to be the chore of myself and my assistants, is see if we can get a rotation in there where we have certain guys playing with certain guys. And if we do that, I thought we were sharp yesterday. I thought we were sharp today until the end. We got a little sloppy, but it was more sometimes when we had certain lineups in there. So we got a chance to clean up a lot of things. Free throw blockouts was one. A little bit better job on our rebounding. We worked on hard yesterday. Our zone offense, which we did a very poor job of, even though zones haven't affected us much, we may put a big emphasis on that. And just our overall defense. I don't think we've been as sharp defensively. I think part of it is because of the wear down that we've had. So I think we got a chance to clean up a lot of things. And tournament's exciting. It's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be exciting because so many good teams. And I don't know what the advantages are, though. I get a little concerned when you have a bye. Usually when you had a bye, you were playing a team that wasn't as good in the first game. And now when you have a bye, you could be playing a team that's better than you in the first game. And them getting one game under their belt and this and that, I think that can be an advantage. But it is still got its ups and downs, this tournament. I think we play late at night. If you win, you play at 2:30 in the morning or in the afternoon. So it's going to be different, but we're excited about it. We really are. It's like a second chance to maybe say, hey, have we grown some from some of those one-point losses? Have we gotten better? We're really looking forward to it. Before I get into anything else on that, though, I would like to say that, I thought the other night at the banquet, it was one of the coolest banquets I've been at because, as media guys, you pick Zell and BJ, and the team had picked Travis, and when I heard what you guys picked, I said, yeah, I definitely would have picked those two, and I would have picked Travis also. So I would have picked three guys if it was me. And when you do that, it's almost like you're trying to appease somebody. And the voting was so good and even. And to watch Denzel and BJ, the way they reacted to Travis's part, I think tells you why this not as talented team maybe has been such a pretty good team. I mean, we've been in the fight the whole year. So that was a kind of a special moment as a coach, believe it or not. So just a little sidebar. As far as the teams we're going to play there, could be Minnesota, could be Ohio State, it could be Rutgers. But if you look at it on paper, the scary team is Minnesota because I think they took Ohio State right to the brink. They beat us here. They lost a lot of close games early. In Ohio State, they had been playing really well and then fell off a little bit at the end. And I'm not sure where we are, but I think if you look at the last 8 games, we played better and more often than we played bad. So I think we're going in a perfect way, in a perfect situation. And if we can win the first game, maybe we get some revenge on teams that beat us. So players are looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Exciting week of basketball. It should be fun in Chicago. Questions?
So, Tom, just clarify. So, Brandon, it's not like it's a Friday waiting to see something. He's cleared and he's playing.
No, you guys saw him today. He went full in everything except a couple of drills, just because we didn't want to put him in them. But he practiced 3/4 yesterday, 7/8 today, and full go tomorrow. And he's had no, which is what they felt once it cleared, and it's cleared. And so he's doing well. Everybody else getting healthier, so we're ready to go. thing.
You mentioned trying to find rotations at the beginning. Do you
Yeah.
anticipate any major changes as far as playing time, lineups, anything like that? Or still figuring that
Not in
out?
the lineup, but I just got to be, I think, very careful not to have 2 or 3 different subs in at the same time. And sometimes fouls create those problems. But in general, we got to really manage that, because one thing is having some practice time here is done, where we could scrimmage a little bit, as you really see a drop-off if we have 3 of them in there at the same time. And it's nobody's fault, it's just the nature of the beast. So I got to do a better job of maybe understanding that and working around it.
Tom, last year, about this time, Dawson came and was a big spark when he came back from that injury. I mean, I don't say do the same thing again, but do you think that's motivation for him to
I do.
come back?
I told him to do the same thing again. I said, everybody thinks that my month is March, your month might be March, so why not go like you did? And I remind him of that. Watch a little film of that, just any kind of motivating things we can do for him. But he was really good yesterday and pretty good today, so I'm hoping that it makes a difference when I'm in there, especially defensively. And I look at the same thing. I mean, it's different when you're trying to get a guy to do something he's never done before, but when you get a chance to do something that you have done before, I think the past is a reference point, and you can use it as that.
Tom, normally we're talking about freshmen hitting a wall here, but that has not really been a big discussion with Marvin and Tom. Obviously, they haven't had to play as much sometimes as your freshmen, but to have them where they are they a little bit ahead as freshmen?
Well, Tom definitely is, and he's hung in there pretty good. He's so mentally tough. Marvin, I think this has been a long season for Marv. He played good the other night, but today he had a rough day at times, and it's just it's that ability. They talk about it in the NBA or the NFL about the game slowing down, and I think he's got so many things coming at him that at times it's difficult. But that's no different than most freshmen. Just that he hasn't as much experience as most freshmen. So, we're going to get to play Marv. I mean, what it should be now is hopefully they're realistic subs. Him and Elvin are realistic subs for the guys that we got in there, instead of subbing by necessity because of foul trouble or something. We can sub and get guys rest at the proper time. Feel a little more comfortable with that, and I think they do too. So I don't know if it'll change his minutes a ton, but it will definitely, I think, help our rotation some.
Tom, I was going back through the season and looking at what I predicted and what Vegas thought and all these things. You guys were an incredibly unpredictable team this year. Did it feel like it as you were going through? Did you, more so than most teams, did you ever have an idea what you were going to get and what the outcomes?
I gotta remember back. Just give me roughly what you predicted, just out of curiosity.
For the season?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're probably right. We were unpredictable, but what we were predictable of is we always battled. We were in every game but 2 is the way I look at it. But what we were unpredictable on is, the home losses, and yet some of them, injury, foul trouble, and free throw shooting. I don't think anybody predicted that. It was something I was going to have Matt do. What is the lowest in my era? No. What was the lowest? Let me rephrase that question. Yeah, I think 68 or something. And that's back when Antonio and those guys, they used to bring a hammer and a chisel to practice, and we'd kind of, knock it out that way. 65, and we surpassed your thoughts, and that's what I'm trying to keep in mind. Is did we play well enough and miss a couple field goals? Meaning the kicks, field goals. Seasons can change, and in basketball it's even worse. And I think of the one we were 7 of 21 without and we lose by 1 or 2. You don't have to be 70%. You don't have to be 60%. I think there was 1 or 2 games if we would have been 52%, we would have won. And that's bizarre, you know, because you think about it, we're the third best three-point shooting team in the league. So it doesn't add up, you know. So that makes us unpredictable and probably not a fan of Vegas at all. They're not a fan of ours. But when you look at the record, as you said, you know, you predicted 23 and whatever, and you weren't far off. You know, I can't remember what's in my drawer, but it's not much different. You know, I think in the non-conference, I was 1 or 2 off. The conference maybe 1 off, so maybe I predicted 24 and something in my hidden ballot. I have a good and a bad, or of what I think is possible and what I think would be the pie in the sky. And but you're right, it hasn't been as smooth, to say the least. And but I think we have gotten more consistent in the last 8 games. I really do, and I think it's helped some. And I think we've got a little better rotation down, and that'll help some. But we've still gone through some strange things with Dawson and the injuries at the end, and you know, thinking we might get JB back, and it's been a hell of a year. But what a better time to come together than now, and we'll see what we can do.
Tom, you hit right exactly where I was going to ask you about the free throw shooting. You were here when Eric Snow was here. How did he turn his free throw shooting around? And is it, when you talk about a team that shoots three-pointers so well and guards that do hit, is it something that really can just flip on a moment's notice without any real explanation?
Well, I think he can, because, you know, the problems of late, I mean, not the end of the year, but up until then, it wasn't Brandon and Schilling missing them. It was our best free throw shooters missing them. I mean, Zell, one or 2 games, Trav, a couple of games. I mean, was it the Minnesota? He went 6 for 13 or 7 for 13, you know. Costello, you know, was a pretty good free throw shooter. Bryn in one game at home early, I think it was Maryland, you know. I mean, those aren't the bad free throw shooters, and that's why I think he can flip on a dime, you know, I really do. You know, I keep having these dreams that we beat somebody good in a tournament, and we go 20 for 20, you know. And I wake up, and I say, shucks, I wish I would have stayed sleeping. But yeah, I think he can. I mean, that's not an unrealistic thing. It's not like we've been a bad rebounding team all season, and all of a sudden we're going to out-rebound a team by 20, or we've been a terrible three-point shooting team, and all of a sudden we're going to expect to have a great three-point shooting day. I think this is a whole different animal. And when you got some of those guys that have shot well over their career, Trice in particular, and some of those guys haven't been in this situation, I definitely think he could go 8 for 9 like he did against Indiana the rest of the tournament. I really do. I think Judd threatened more than I do. You know, I think he just scared him into making them. And I'm not sure, you know, he improved, but to what degree did he improve? You got the book there. You can tell us in a second. After we get to the next question, we'll come back to you. Oh, yeah. Well, those guys get a lot of time to practice. And but, I mean, I thought you meant in his college career. You know, and he did work at it. I mean, he worked at it like Dawson is, like Schilling is. He worked at it, you know. But that was an interesting time, too.
Tom, Fred's not here right now, so I'm going to ask the question that I know he would ask. At the end of practice,
chasing catchers already reported.
No, not that. At the end of practice today, we saw you really getting into that free throw drill and really working with Marvin, really getting down low, motivating him. You love this time of year, don't you? Does this demand another step up in emotion and involvement? Is that what you love about March most?
Well, it does. And you know, the reason I did it is we were so bad against Indiana that I don't think we stepped in once right. We didn't always get caught. It was absolutely embarrassing as a coach. And some of my best guys. And so we worked on it yesterday. We'll work on it today. And tomorrow we might cut out 2 blocks just to work on it. Because you watch, somebody got beat last night because of it. We almost did. You know, what I'm trying to do at this time of year is convince our young guys that there's so many things you can't control that you better be 99.8% on the things you can. If there's an assignment, if the guy shoots it over, he shoots it over you. But if you miss an assignment, you can't let that happen now. I mean, the chances of games being better and better and better. If you miss a free throw cutout, I mean, you're going to miss a free throw. That's the way it is. But if you miss a cutout, something you should be able to do. It's just unexcusable. If you forget if the guy goes right or left, and he's strong-armed one way or the other, and you get beat that way, I mean, that's unexcusable. What you got to do is you got to take the things that you know are definites, and you got to try to push those through to the nth degree, because there'll be enough, March miracle madness that happens that you can't control. And so, yeah, I guess that's why it gets a little more intense. That's why it gets a little more critical. And that's where freshmen have trouble, because they've never been there. They've never done that, and no matter how much you tell them. I was a little disappointed today, and I told Trav and Zell, they've got to step up and explain to these young guys, Bryn's never been in an NCAA tournament game. It ratchets up dramatically. I mean, there's something about being one and done that turns it a couple of notches. And so tomorrow I'm going to try to simulate it even more. And then we'll tail off and be ready to go on Friday.
Based on how Valentine and Trice performed this season, do you think, were you a little surprised that they didn't get higher than a third All-Big Ten?
Well, it's funny because what happens is you vote for a guy as a coach anyway when they play you. So like a Dawson, for example, didn't play in a couple games against some teams that had a vote. We only played them once, Purdue and Wisconsin. And Trice struggled early, or he was really good early, then he struggled there for a couple weeks. We might have played a couple teams in there. You don't get those votes. And maybe from the media it's the same way, but I still think what we look at in general is who won the league, who's the best defensive team in the league? It's Purdue. Their guy won the defensive player of the league. I mean, I'd even vote that way to a certain extent if they got one, and I'm even or on a couple of guys. I'm always going with who won, because winning is a factor. I don't think we put it, we got enough baloney out there and guys that don't put winning at the forefront. So winning is a factor. And would I like to see those two guys higher? Would I like to send Brandon on the first team? Would I like to see all that? Sure, I would. But it's a good lesson to learn that you got to perform each and every night. And if, especially the way the schedule is now, if you happen to be in a media market one time, like Madison, Wisconsin, maybe those media people saw somebody and said, well, he's not playing very good. But they didn't see him a lot, They didn't see him the second time. Or same with you guys when you go places and we only play once. If you went to Iowa the night we played and you didn't watch a lot of TV, you probably wouldn't vote for as many guys as you wouldn't vote for White when in that situation. And that's what happens, I think.
Tom, having a freshman point guard going into the postseason, what can you tell Tom about how to approach it and what to kind of expect?
It's been a little harder for Tom. I mean, he's struggled a little bit more lately because I think there is more pressure. I think even though he's handled it pretty well, there is a wear down. I mean, there's no question that Denzel is, guys wear down when they got to play a ton of minutes, and when they got to play a ton of minutes and they got pressure on them on both ends of the court like Denzel, it's even harder. But letting Tom know he's in here every day, he's watching film, he's in very good shape, like a Charlie Bell, so don't worry about him that way. But I just tell him the stakes have risen, and everybody's playing for their lives now. There's something, when you're a senior and you're playing in this tournament, and it could be your last game, there's more on the line. And so you have to almost approach it like every game is your last game. And if you approach it that way, some people it eats them up because they can't handle the pressure. Some people it motivates them. I want our guys to feel the pressure. If they don't learn how to feel the pressure, they don't belong in this program. There's always going to be some, and hopefully you're always playing for something that really matters, and so you better learn how to adjust to it.
Coach, I know you lost 2 NBA first-round picks, but I look at this team, and there's no first-team guys. There's nowhere to be found in the top 25, and Joe Lenardi's calling you out as an average team. When you look at this season, where does it sit right now, and what needs to happen for you to feel good about how this team's transitioned?
I think the biggest thing is, look, I made no qualms at the beginning of the year. I said, we could be a 2-3 team, and we could be a 7-8 team. I think that was my prediction early in the year, and I was about as honest as I've ever been with anybody. I still believe the same thing. But it is amazing, and this is what you try to tell a player. And I try to tell him this all the time. This is what I try to, tell people that were, complaining down in Indiana a month ago. He was going to be coach of the year, and they were this, What makes it different for us this year is you can always say, God, if you wouldn't have turned the ball over, if you would have made that wide open 3 at the end, you would have won the game. But when it comes down to looking at 5 or 6 games that were 4 or 5 for sure directly lost at the free throw line by a lot. And okay, 1 free throw would have won a couple of those games. But more importantly, 1 free throw might have got us up to 49% in one game, 52% in the other. I mean, if you look at it realistically, I will say it. I think this team has had a hell of a year under the circumstances. You don't know what losing Kaminsky was going to do. You don't know what losing Best was going to do. Other people lost people, but we're still surviving. We're still knocking on the door. I mean, I'm not sure anybody's fearing us, but I'm not sure anybody's waking up in the morning saying, oh, good, we got Michigan State. And, if we would have won, just go with me for a second, because I'm not pleading anymore. We are what we are, and we're in what we're in. But I think everybody in this room would agree that you'd probably beat Texas Southern 90 some out of 100, and so now you're 22-9, and Maryland and was it Illinois at home when we had the free throw, and even Minnesota. I mean, those were. I mean, when did it work the other way? You can say Yogi missed the free throw, but I mean, we outplayed them. I think most of that game, definitely the second half. So. When everybody says it balances out at the end of the year, I think this is one of those years that we lost 4 or 5 games that we could have won. In other words, we played well enough to win. And with that being said, 3, 4 more wins. We're a top 10, 12 team, and we've far exceeded at least my expectation of where we'd be in a conference schedule that I don't think was soft on us. I don't know where it was. I can't believe one of you guys hasn't written an article to figure out who had the easiest schedule, who had the worst. By now, you guys loafing or what? Wives on you, not working at night, or what are we doing here? But I would think, that definitely we weren't on the easy end of the schedule. So, I think these guys have done a hell of a job. But when you miss free throws like that, it's so gut-wrenching because it just shouldn't happen. If you knew the emphasis I put on it last spring, talked about it all summer, not thinking I'd have these problems, but just I thought we'd be one of those teams that are exactly like we were. We're going to have to find ways to win games. Because I didn't think we'd be maybe as good a shooting team. I didn't think we'd be anywhere near as good a defensive team. I didn't think we'd be as good a rebounding team. I didn't think we'd have the assists we have. So when those things all were better, that one stat has done some serious damage to us. And I don't blame them. I mean, I know how much Schilling and, we didn't do enough probably early on. But what they've done this year they've worked at it. You know, it's just one of those things. So I feel pretty good about this team right now. I think we're capable of winning. I think we're capable of being a very tough out. Unfortunately, we're capable of losing our first game in both. I mean, we're not head and shoulders above anybody, but we're not head and shoulders below. I'd like to know what Lenardi's vision of who is besides those 8 teams maybe at the top. Because, I mean, to me, there's a significant drop, just like there is a significant drop in the Big Ten or a lot of these other conferences. And I still don't think everybody's able to handle these major conferences, you know, and trying to get your arms around what is a 12-6 record. I mean, I'll just ask the question since I'm in a decent mood. Is 12-6 this year better or worse than last year? I think we had some teams at the top that were better, but we had some teams at the bottom that were worse. So where would you get the identical record as last year, where would you put us? You know, it's kind of an interesting thought. And I'm not sure I know, because I think that's what's difficult about this mega conference stuff right now. You know, I was looking at Dukes. I was looking at some other top teams. Did they play Virginia once or did they play them twice? Did they play Notre Dame once or did they play them twice? Did they play the top 3 or 4 teams once or twice? Some were only once, and some of those teams, some were twice. And that's what's been very difficult to evaluate. And it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But mark my words, I still say that a tougher schedule or, you know, this top 50 or top 25 thing, that can be moved around a lot too, you know. One thing the Big Ten did this year that I think we deserve total blame for is just about all of us. Purdue, Michigan, Michigan State, Indiana, Minnesota. I'm just trying to go off the top of my head. The teams that didn't were Penn State and maybe Northwestern, you know, lose to somebody they shouldn't have lost to by a lot. So then once you do that, you're out of the rankings. Once you're out of the rankings, you know, even if you get a lot better, you're still out of the rankings usually. And it's hard to move back into them. Yeah. And so consequently, then you're never playing a top 50 or top 25 teams. So they say, well, they haven't beaten one. Well, you know, sometimes you don't play a lot of them. And we have those years when that happens. So I think that's the biggest thing that hurt the Big Ten. We all lost. We lost one. I think Purdue lost 2 or 3. You know, Michigan lost a couple. And Nebraska was another one. There you go. Who else? You know, I'm not knocking those teams. I'm saying I'm putting ourselves in there. I'm just saying when that happens early, I mean, that doesn't mean they're a bad team. I mean, I'm telling you, Purdue is damn good, and they lost a couple of games that you'd say, how did they lose them? And that's what hurts too, you know, and that's why the eyeball test has become more and more important, because it's hard to see with these mega conferences who you're playing, and even your preseason schedules. You know, if you play a couple tough teams, like Al McGuire used to say, it's not only who you schedule, it's when you schedule them. You know, are you coming off something big and then you don't focus in as much, or you, whatever it is. So yeah, I'm telling you, it's harder. I would just tell you this, it's not as easy as you think. It's harder. But to win 21 games and to be in the games we were in and then to lose 4 or 5 the way we lost them, you'd have to say we played pretty good. We missed free throws. I know that's all part of the game, no excuse, but most of the time when you lose, it's because you didn't play as hard or as well or as good defensively, or as you had a bunch of turnovers. You know, last couple of weeks we've been 7, 8, 6 turnovers, you know, which is not normal for us. So been more positives than negatives.
Tom, with Gavin,
you coming with me? That'd be good.
With Gavin Schilling, back in December, January, it seemed like there's some times when he was ahead of the curve. Now, where is he, and what do you need to do?
I think he's been behind the curve.
And so how are you handling him right now? Where can this team be if he gets it back?
Not with kid gloves. You know, I agree with you 100%. I think Gavin was definitely made the most progress, and we've had him in a couple times, talked to him about it. It just seems like he's kind of hit a wall of his own and kind of come down a little bit. He's practiced better even before we went to Indiana. Hopefully that'll build now. I think he practiced pretty well today, so we'll see. But that definitely hurt us. I mean, we need those two guys as steady stabilizers. When they were getting 16 and 10 or 12, that was perfect for the group. And they've been a little bit more up and down, especially Gavin. So, we're trying to remedy that.
What areas does he
Catching the ball, getting a rebound. He's going up one hand a lot. He just hasn't played as well. And, I think it's almost in a lot of areas. I just don't think because when you don't make shots, you fumble the ball and things, then I think it affects the other parts of your game.
Since your SID segued into recruiting so well, I know you've acted like you didn't know, but Fraschilla on a national radio program, when someone said cheating in recruiting is a victimless crime, he said, then go ask the coaches who get fired for not winning who won't cheat. And he mentioned you as an example.
Does that mean I'm getting fired?
No, but he mentioned the fact that this year, in Michigan State terms, is down a little bit because you lost out on some guys that are in the NBA or are succeeding because of cheating, allegedly. Just your thoughts on the state of college basketball in that sense.
Oh, man, State of the Union, huh? Every profession has problems, and every profession there's things going on, and I don't lose any sleep over whether I'm worried about what we do. And you always hear rumors, you always hear things, you always see things that are going on. There's always reasons why they went on. I don't know. I think there's so many people involved with these kids that it's really a shame. And I said something that I got in trouble for last week. I still think that the only way you're going to stop some of this is if every one of the parties is involved. President, AD, coach, and player. And sometimes we forget the one that seems like they're the only ones that really know what's going on. And so, I had my days back 15 years ago where I complained about it and went through it. You don't hear me complain about it anymore. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to get the players that want to come, for the right reasons. And I'm not going to worry about who does what, where, why, and when. There's been some sleepless nights over the 20 years. Probably the first 5 or 6 worried more about why I didn't get guys and all this, and some of it turned out to be 100% true. But other times it turns out to not to be. So what I've done a better job of is just accepting that I got a job to do. I'm going to do my job the way I do my job, the way I've been mentored by Judd, and the way it's supposed to be done. And if it's good enough, it's good enough. And if it's not, I just pull on my big boy pants and go on to the next guy. So I don't know. I haven't talked to Franny in a long time, if he's the one that said it. So it was nothing I said to him, that's for sure. But, people are out there. You guys are out there. Everybody knows. Everybody doesn't know exactly what goes on, but everybody knows, where there's smoke, there's not always fire. But when there's a lot of smoke, there's usually some fire. And I'll just leave it at that. That all I'm worried about now is my staff, my players, and my program, and we're doing the best we can do. Now, what I would say is I'm not opposed to this. I understand the reason that everything's the coach's fault. I just wonder how everybody else would like that. What if it was a dean of a college? What if it was the head of the other, from debate to band? I mean, what if we looked at everybody that same way? Wow. I think I think it was an easy thing to say. If I told you how much time I spend on basketball compared to the outside things, it would blow most of you away. And it's just because there's always fires. My old friend Kevin O'Neill said it best. You come in, you put on your Smokey the Bear outfit, you put out fires, then at 3 o'clock you go coach. I mean, is that really true? You're damn right it is. It's the way it is. And that's what I guess I signed up for that, though. Your jobs aren't as easy as they were either. And but I feel good where we are. I like who we've recruited. This thing about this year, I hear a lot of people talk. I mean, we can't replace a Kaminsky at the end of August. I think everybody in this room, I watched him on film get 19, 13, 16. That's a problem. You can't do it. But I don't blink an eyelash at anything that I could have done, or my team, or my assistants. It just happened. You can't change a Javon Bess, So some of this talent that everybody thinks we're null and void of, it's there, it's just not there on the court. And the other thing is, it's getting so much harder to stockpile, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, stockpiling meant if you had a 5-star kid and you tried to bring another one in at that position, it's considering he wasn't going pro, it was going to be hard to happen. Now you could have a 2-star kid and bring a 1-star guy in, and somebody's upset. Nobody wants to sit. Nobody wants to pay their dues. So it's harder for all these schools. And that's what I said has been probably the thing I'm proudest of. We think we're down a little bit. Go look at some of the guys that won national championships, and the next year they didn't make the NIT. And we're not down a little bit. We've got a little blip, and the blip is because we couldn't make a damn free throw, or we would be right there. And I give my team credit for that. I give my staff credit for that. And I'm sure not blowing our own horn, but if you really think about it, go back and look at, what a Florida or what a UConn or what a Kentucky. It was just a couple years ago. There's been a lot of teams, that fell off the face of the earth. There were no falling off the face of the earth. We just, uncharacteristically, I think you said it better than anybody, you can't feel comfortable about us. You can't feel comfortable. You could think most years, hey, they got a home game against a team that might not be any better than them but not be worse. We're going to win. This year that didn't happen a couple times, but in every one of them, go look at the free throw deal. And I know it's part of it, but we're all right. We're just missing a couple guys. We get Javon back, get those recruits in, get a guy we get sitting out, and don't lose anybody to stupidity would be the best way to do it.
I know you like coaches' sons. You talked about that a lot. With Travis in particular, how does it work, in terms of you working with the parent? I know at home games he's got his dad on one side sometimes, and you've got you on the other side. How has that worked out with him and with Travis Sr.?
Just been awesome. Trav Sr. and Carlton Valentine have been just they've been the best. I am blessed, beyond blessed. Trav, when he was struggling a little bit, and I took him out of the lineup and all the things that we went through, his dad was just, I hope I could be that good. They were unbelievable supportive of him and of me and of understanding, and we were still all battling to try to make what's best for Trav because we knew that would be best for the team. When Zell went through his turning the ball over so many times early in his career, I'd beg Carlton to come to practice just to watch, and very seldom would he. He was there today. It was great. But Judd was right. It was Judd Heathcote that said, if you can grab a coach's son, take him. And, I've been Travis Trice and his dad and his mom. It's been a blessing, his brothers, because his dad goes through it. I even asked him, well, he asked me, well, I got a couple guys in the same boat right now, slumping a little bit, and we actually talk about it. We talked this morning about some other things. So it's been great. Been great. One more? No more? Good.